This is Kew Gardens. It's a World Heritage Site. Imagine if it started right here in Brentford.
You know, to have Kew Gardens starting here at Ferry Quays would be fantastic.
It's not just a dream. It could happen.
Brentford is so close to this World Heritage Centre and yet so far, divided by this river. And so that needs to somehow be conquered so Brentford can be part of that World Heritage Centre.
I mean, that it's a delightful concept to be able to link Brentford far more closely to the World Heritage Site. I mean, at the moment you have to go down to Kew Bridge, over the bridge, and in among all that traffic to get to Kew Gardens. So yes, it would be lovely to be able to get to Kew Gardens by walking from Brentford to Kew, and also for people in Kew to come to Brentford.
The idea of the bridge somehow needs to capture people's imagination.
The minimalist construction would be dressed by Kew with vines and flowers, fruit and exotic plants, rising up from a lush garden in Ferry Quays.
The Botany Bridge, which would be almost like a piece of Kew Gardens extending over the river into Ferry Quays, and so Kew Gardens would begin in Brentford.
The Botany Bridge would be a living bridge, nourished by the elements and the people. Okay, I'm just going to give 20 seconds if you want to look over there. What do you think of the bridge proposal?
Well, it's really good that some local people have revived what's been an idea that's been around for years. I remember old Stan Goddard, the parents of the family who now run Goddard's. I mean, he was promoting it years and years ago. So it's great that people who are now in Brentford have picked up this idea, and the idea of a footbridge and a cycle bridge, I think, is a good one, over to Kew, and it's a way that we can link up Brentford and Kew.
Would it be part of the regeneration of Brentford?
Well, it's a great idea. The sticking point is how it's going to be paid for, and there's no guarantee that the regeneration of Brentford could afford to pay for a new bridge when every development has to provide so much else, and the profit margins are so low on property development, so we're told. So all new developments, they have to provide for school places, they have to provide for affordable housing, they have to provide for highway works and public transport. So the idea that there'll be enough left over from any of those developments, many of which have actually got planning permission already, the idea that there'll be anything left over to fund a bridge is pretty unlikely. So the funding is the sticking point. Something like this needs a sugar daddy, if you like. It needs completely external funding.
Are there any sugar daddies?
I'm not aware of any.
What about some of the big firms which are around Brentford?
Well, I mean, they have their own priorities. They have their own corporate social responsibility priorities. For instance, GSK focuses on health and world health. So, it doesn't, so far as I know, fit into any of their priorities, but that's what the group will have to work out.
And it's worth them exploring this. There is always a potential for it.
Look, it's always good to be optimistic. It's always good to be positive and hopeful, but you do have to do the legwork and persuade people of your view. But you've got to understand that it's not just pushing a good idea; it's working out how to get the funding.
Do you think as an idea it's a good idea, It's just whether it can be turned into reality.
I think it's a great idea. I mean, after all, the Victorians fixed the eights, the islands in the Thames, so that they didn't drift in such a way as to hide smelly old Brentford from beautiful Kew Gardens. Now, obviously, Brentford is a completely different place now, and we're a vibrant, up and coming town, and we want to be able to ensure that people on our side of the river can benefit from getting over to Kew Gardens, but also that people who come from all over the world to visit Kew Gardens can easily and safely come here to Brentford and see what Brentford has to offer.
But what about things like the lottery fund?
Well, I don't know whether any of the lottery fund's criteria are applicable in this case. But if you think it wasn't straightforward to fund the Garden Bridge, and that's now coming up against problems. So there may be funds out there, but the case would have to be very strong for a funder to want to support it. And something I would oppose would be charging people to cross this bridge. I mean, that was one of the ways that the Garden Bridge in central London is supposed to be funded, and that is not within the spirit of what we're talking about. So I certainly would oppose any kind of funding to use the bridge to cross the river.
Sometimes regeneration, like the regeneration which is going on in Brentford, needs a big idea in the middle of it.
It needs a big idea.
It gets attention and captures people's imagination. Flats don't do it. A Botany Bridge would do it.
It is good to have a great idea, but it's got to be a realistic and deliverable idea.